Would you like to learn how to consistently catch inshore slams this winter with a small segment of lures so that you don't have to bother with light bait or bulky tackle boxes any longer? I'm talking about redfish, sea trout, snook, flounder. After coaching over 100,000 fishermen here at Salt Strong on just catching more fish than ever before, I found that there's a small segment of lures that consistently perform regardless of region. We have members spanning from Texas to Florida along the Gulf, and Florida even north of Virginia along the Atlantic. And these small segment of lures that we're going to go through in this video have proven to perform over and over and over again, year over year, specifically during the winter months. And while we go through these lures, I'm gonna give the recipe on exactly when each one is particularly good so that you can maximize your valuable time out on the water. Most people overcomplicate this. There's thousands of lures out there, and most people overspend by getting way more stuff than they need. That just leads to confusion and wasted money. So here's the subset of lures that has risen to the top for wintertime fishing. I'm gonna go through them one at a time. We're gonna start with the flea flicker. This is a suspending plug, meaning that it slowly sinks. It's nice and slow sinking for these fish in the winter that are typically gonna be a little bit more lethargic, but this lure, as far as its role in the package, it casts far. Lures will outcast soft plastics. They're just more aerodynamic. It also has a rattle, so when these fish are a little bit more aggressive, at least on the more aggressive side of the season, this lure can help attract more attention. It has a great retrieve for slow, as far as its slow sink, but this design also has a great retrieve in the water on a fast retrieve. On a fast retrieve, even a straight retrieve, it has a nice little swim, a very natural swim that gets tons of strikes. So if the fish are a little bit on the aggressive side in between the cold fronts, when there's a nice little warm period, the fish will often get a little bit more aggressive, whether it's redfish, sea trout, snook, or flounder. And lures like this can be very good on covering water quickly to maximize results on those optimal days. So when on the water in the winter, if you see a lot of bait fish, especially nervous bait fish, and especially if you're seeing some strikes at the surface, this is going to be an optimal choice because you're going to be able to cover more water and attract some more attention to attract those more aggressive fish. So what about these other lures? Next, we're going to go with the Prawn Junior. This is a 3.5-inch shrimp pattern. And these soft plastics that we're going to go through, these are all sized fairly similar because in the wintertime, this smaller profile usually outperforms. And best of all, to help you save money, is that the rigging, you need to have a rigging for the deeper water as well as the shallower water. And it's easiest, of course, to use similar size profiles so that the riggings can apply for all of them. So as far as the profile itself, this is what I default to. In general, in the winter, the fish are going to be more lethargic. They're going to be feeding on the bottom. And what I found for myself as well as members that I've coached is that shrimp profile lures, especially ones that have just a realistic profile like this actually has the eyes, has the tail, it's the right size, and you can just slow either crawl it or bounce it along the bottom, and it'll absolutely dominate even on days when everybody else, including the live baiters, are not getting much results at all. This is very natural. It just triggers strikes even if the fish aren't hungry. If a nice looking meal that's easy to catch happens to go across the face of a red, snook, trout, or flounder, they can't help but eat it. Their predator instinct will kick in and they're gonna eat. And when out on the water, if you see a lot of wading birds like spoonbills, egrets, and just these wading birds wading on a shallow flat or along shorelines, they're often feeding on shrimp. And so that's just a good way to automatically know that this is gonna be the right profile, right? If the fish are lethargic, number one, if you're not seeing many bait fish, number two, and number three, if you are seeing some wading birds, that is when this will almost always dominate. And as far as rigging goes, I'm just gonna share the ones that at least have been the best all-purpose for our membership. There's the round eye. This is the weedless round eye. This thing works great for both shrimp and bait fish imitation lures, but most importantly, it allows us to stay weedless. During the winter, these fish are gonna be on the bottom. They're not going to be feeding very aggressively, so they're oftentimes going to be holding next to structure. And so our key is to get down on the bottom next to structure without getting snagged. So if we're using traditional jig heads in the best spots, it's just a nightmare. You're going to get snagged on the bottom. It's not worth the hassle. Once I've started using weedless jig heads, I'm catching more fish, I'm having fewer breakoffs on the bottom, and I'm just having more fun. Less time having to re-rig out on the water. So highly, highly recommend getting some weedless jig heads, and this one in particular has been the best, just overall all-purpose that I found. So let's go on to the next one. And this one comes into play when you are seeing bait fish in the water but you need to be weedless. So if you see bait fish and the fish are aggressive, go with the plug. You can cast farther, you can cover more water, attract more attention. But if you need to be weedless, if there's bait fish and they're not looking very scared, if they look pretty relaxed, that's a sign that the predators in that area are not very aggressive. So we need to use a soft plastic and rig it weedless so we can get it on the bottom. If it's shallow water, I love this helix hook. This is a Haas helix hook with an 1/8 ounce weight. This will basically cover anything from about 2.5 feet of water and less. While being weedless, it is excellent. And if I'm fishing in an area with bait fish present, but deeper water, then I'll just rig it on the same jig head that we showed before. So that's the cool part about using, you know, soft plastics like this, where they basically all kind of match to the same rigging. So last but not least, this is the Polk County Tweaker. This is a soft plastic jerk style lure. This thing is awesome. I used to use the split tail lures, and once I switched to this style, it's more compact, it casts farther, and it has quicker little darts, you know, quicker, shorter darting motion in the water. And that seems to just get more strikes, particularly to fish that aren't very hungry. And when I use this lure in place of the ones that we talked about previously, is when the fish are a little bit more spread out. So if you're not exactly sure where the fish are holding, you need to cover a lot of water quickly while still triggering strikes from fish that aren't very active. This lure is awesome. The Polk County Tweaker, whether it's rigged like this on a weighted hook for the shallows, or you can rig it on jig heads. It has great darting action in the water, and it flat out produces. This is a super simple style lure, but when rigged properly and retrieved properly, this thing absolutely dominates. This is one of my most trusted lures for tournament fishing, especially on days when the fish aren't very aggressive. This thing is awesome, so I highly recommend having these in the arsenal ready for action. So this is the assembly of lures. As you can see, it might look pretty simple, but it has shockingly good results when used in the manner that I mentioned. As far as the strategy on selecting the right lure for the right conditions, if you follow this strategy, I am 100% confident you're going to be catching an absolute ton of fish. And we're so confident that you're going to absolutely love these lures that we're going to give an unbeatable deal in this video. So number one, you're going to get these lures for the best price possible. These are only available at fishstrong.com. If you get these lures, you're going to get the soft plastics that I mentioned. Each of these are come in 7 packs, and these riggings come in 3 packs. You're going to get the lures plus the rigging that you need. And if you do so, you're going to get this flea flicker completely for free. This is over a $10 lure. This is one of our new paint jobs, the Mullet HD pattern. This thing is absolutely awesome. And again, this is yours simply for trying out this bundle. As I mentioned before, we stand behind our product. So if you get these lures and you somehow don't think that they're awesome, if you somehow don't think that this is the best shrimp lure you've ever used, if this is the best soft plastic paddle tail you've ever used, or if this isn't the best twitch bait that you've ever used, just let us know and we'll actually refund the money that you paid for these products. We know these lures work. As mentioned earlier, we've coached over 100,000 anglers, and last year we had the bundle of just this side, just these soft plastics and riggings, and everybody loved it. And so this one, we've added the flea flicker. Not only that, it's free of charge, so a free bonus for trying this out. So highly recommend giving this a shot. This flea flicker is free only for a limited time. If this video is still live on the page that you're watching on Fish Strong, that means it's still active. So highly recommend taking action, get these lures, try them out. And if you need any help on rigging or anything for that matter, we have detailed mini course videos showing exactly how to rig, retrieve, and use all of these lures. That's all available at fishstrong.com. At the bottom of the description page for each of these lures is a link to the mini course. You can get all the information there just to make sure that you're maximizing your time using these items. So add these to your cart at fishstrong.com, and for you members, when you're logged in, you're automatically gonna get discounts. You're gonna get 20% off of all these lures and the riggings, while also getting the flea flicker free of charge. Once you complete the order, our shipping team is gonna be very fast to send them your way, and we can't wait to see some awesome fish you catch with these great lures.